What if I told you that Ncuti Gatwa, the man who stepped into the TARDIS with all the charisma in the galaxy, the face that launched the Disney flair of Doctor Who, just admitted something so raw, so brutally honest, that it changes how we view his entire run? And no, this isn't clickbait. This isn't a vague, "Oh, I wish I did more stunts" regret. This is personal. This is the kind of confession that makes you wonder, was the 15th Doctor doomed before he even began? Because the biggest regret Ncuti revealed. It's tied to the very heart of why his era was so controversial, and why fans can't agree if this was the boldest reinvention of Doctor Who, or its most divisive chapter yet. So buckle up, because by the end of this video, you'll see Ncuti Gatwa's Doctor in a completely different light. When Ncuti took over in 2023, he didn't just inherit a role. He inherited a burden. The first full Disney-backed Doctor. A billion-dollar streaming experiment on his shoulders. A fandom split down the middle, after the Timeless Child reveal and Chibnall's turbulent era. This wasn't just about playing a Time Lord. It was about saving a brand. And here's where it gets wild. From day one, the conversation wasn't about the stories. It was about the optics. The headlines didn't say, "Ncuti Gatwa brings fire to Doctor Who." They said, "Disney's Doctor? The first streaming Doctor? Representation era." The weight of expectation was crushing, and when season 14 hit, boom. Controversy exploded like a Dalek fleet. Some fans praised the energy, the style, the unapologetic boldness. Others said it felt hollow, too glossy, more Marvel than Gallifrey. Then came the B generation twist in season 15. Ncuti didn't just share an era with David Tennant. He literally shared the screen as two Doctors existing at once. It was shocking. It was daring. It was, well, depending on who you ask, a stroke of genius or the moment the lore cracked beyond repair. And through all of this, Ncuti smiled in interviews. He played the ambassador role perfectly. Until now. Until he finally said the quiet part out loud. In a recent interview that lit up fandom spaces, like a regeneration blast, Ncuti Gatwa admitted this. His biggest regret about his run wasn't the backlash, wasn't the criticism, wasn't even the toxic online noise. It was something far more personal. He said, "I wish I'd fought harder for the Doctor's story to be smaller, more human. There were times I felt like I was running through fireworks when I wanted to whisper." Read that again. I wanted to whisper. That line hit me like a Cyberman punch to the chest. Because what does that tell us? It tells us Ncuti didn't just feel the pressure, he felt the disconnect. He wanted quiet, he wanted intimacy, he wanted stories about people, about morality. About those moments where the Doctor isn't a god in a cape, but a lonely wanderer making impossible choices. Instead, he was thrown into a blockbuster machine. Galaxy-spanning crisis, big CGI set pieces, every episode an event. And while the budget soared, the emotional core, according to Ncuti, it slipped through the cracks. This isn't just an actor being nostalgic. This is a statement about the identity crisis at the heart of modern Doctor Who. For decades, this show thrived on doing a lot with a little. Creaky sets, rubber, monsters, and yet the stories had soul. Now, in the Disney Clara, we're asking, did bigger budgets make the show better? Or did they bury its beating heart under layers of spectacle? Ncuti's regret cuts deep because it confirms what many fans felt. Season 14 and 15 weren't bad, they were different. Louder. Faster. Bigger. But did they forget to breathe? So let me throw this at you, do you agree with Ncuti? Should the modern Doctor Who era scale back the fireworks and bring back those quiet, intimate episodes that broke our hearts in the Russell and Moffat days? Or do you love the big, budget spectacle that makes Who feel cinematic? Comment below with FEF Team Whisper if you're craving those smaller, human stories, or FEF Team Blockbuster if you think Disney's big vision is exactly what the show needed. Because here's the twist. Ncuti didn't just admit regret. He admitted something else. Something about why this happened, and how behind the scenes chaos shaped the Disney era in ways nobody saw coming. In part 2, we're pulling back the curtain on the production politics, the script rewrites, and the creative tug of war that might explain everything. And trust me, this goes way deeper than you think. Oh, and if you want the truth before anyone else, hit that subscribe button now, because part 2 is where things get messy. When Ncuti said he wanted whispers instead of fireworks. He wasn't just being poetic. He was pointing to a real creative struggle that almost no one outside the production bubble talks about. Because here's the truth, the Disney era of Doctor Who was a double-edged sonic screwdriver. On one hand, it brought a budget the show had never seen before. Cinematic visuals, global marketing. On the other, it came with expectations, big ones. And those expectations collided head-on with the DNA of the show. Russell T Davies came back to save the show. But saving a show in 2005 meant gritty soap, operatic arcs, and emotional gut punches. Saving a show in 2023, it meant building a franchise. Disney didn't invest in Doctor Who for small, quiet stories. They wanted an MCU-style event series. Every episode a blockbuster, every finale a hashtag. And that's where the cracks started. Behind the scenes, writers pitched smaller, character-driven scripts. Some even got greenlit. But as production rolled, those scripts ballooned. Budget decisions dictated tone. More spectacle. Bigger set pieces. More VFX. Suddenly, what started as an intimate bottle episode turned into a galaxy. Hopping chase sequence. Because Disney's analytics said bigger plays better. And Ncuti? Caught in the middle. Trying to anchor this CGI avalanche with real emotion. While shooting scenes where entire universes explode behind a green screen. Sources from the crew have whispered it's so ironic, right? About one episode in season 15 that sparked heated debates. Originally written as a slow burn character study. Just the Doctor and Ruby locked in a moral dilemma. It was retooled mid-shoot into a high-stakes multi-world crisis with a shock cameo from a returning villain. The reason? Streaming metrics. Executives feared a quiet, dialogue-heavy episode would tank retention, so they cranked the adrenaline. By the time cameras rolled, the script had lost 60% of its original emotional beats. And guess what? That episode was one of the loudest, flashiest hours of the season, and one of the most divisive among fans. This is why his regret stings. Because he wasn't asking for less ambition. He was asking for balance. To let the Doctor breathe. To remind us that Doctor Who isn't about explosions, it's about choices. Moments where silence speaks louder than VFX. Think of Heaven Sent. One set, one actor. One of the greatest episodes ever made. Now imagine Ncuti doing something like that. With his charisma, his intensity. It could have been legendary. But in the Disney era, that kind of episode barely stands a chance. And here's the kicker nobody wants to say out loud: Doctor Who isn't fully BBC anymore. Disney Co. produces it. And that means notes. Executives. Algorithms. Those notes aren't just about color palettes and runtime. They're about tone, content, and pacing. More action. Less ambiguity. More global marketability. Does that kill creativity? Not entirely, but it narrows the lanes. And when your lead actor openly admits he longed for quieter, riskier stories, you know those lanes felt tight. So here's my question to you. Is Doctor Who still Doctor Who when it starts chasing the Marvel formula? Or is evolution the only way it survives in the streaming era? Comment with "Fight Keep It Weird" if you think Who should fight for small, intimate stories. Or "Fight Go Beg or Go Home" if you think cinematic spectacle is the future. And if you've got your own take on how Disney has shaped the show, drop it below. I'm going to feature the boldest theories in my next breakdown. And because in part 3 we're going deeper. Ncuti didn't just reveal regret, he hinted at what he'd do differently if he ever returned. And his words, they might hold the blueprint for saving Doctor Who from becoming another soulless streaming giant. Plus, I'll tell you the real reason Ncuti walked away after season 15. And it's not what the official line told us. So stick around. And if you haven't yet, subscribe. Because the last part of this story is pure forbidden knowledge. Let's start with a question nobody asked him on camera, but his words all but answered. If Ncuti could rewrite his era, what would he change? From interviews, you can piece together a clear vision. He wanted Doctor Who stripped back to its bones. Not in a cheap way, but in a bold character-first way. More two-handers. More moral ambiguity. Less, save the galaxy from exploding every other week. And more, save one person. And question what it cost you. Ncuti even referenced his love for episodes like Midnight and Turn Left in a podcast, calling them brave in their stillness. That's the word he kept coming back to, brave. Because in an age where streaming platforms equates success with explosions. Stillness is rebellion. And imagine his charisma bottled into that kind of tension. The 15th Doctor whispering instead of shouting, smiling as he breaks your heart, that could have been era-defining. Officially. The BBC line was simple: Ncuti did 2 seasons, always planned it that way, and left to pursue new opportunities. But behind the scenes, multiple sources have hinted that Ncuti's exit wasn't just about scheduling. It was about creative control. He signed on thinking the show would evolve, not transform into something unrecognizable. He fought, politely, professionally, for smaller moments, riskier scripts. The machine said, no, bigger, louder, faster. And when you're the face of $1 billion reboot, you can't just walk into the showrunner's office and say, let's burn the playbook. So he did the only thing left. He smiled. He delivered. And when the credits rolled on that season 15 finale, he walked away with dignity. But here's the gut punch. Ncuti's last words in that interview weren't bitter. They were hopeful. If I ever come back, I'd want it to feel dangerous again. Not in scale. In truth, that sentence, that's not just nostalgia. That's a challenge. And this is where things get interesting. Because guess who else has been echoing those sentiments? Writers, directors, even Russell T Davies himself. In a recent panel, RTD admitted, Doctor Who can never out, Marvel. It shouldn't try. Read between the lines, he sees the risk. He knows that the soul of Doctor Who isn't in VFX shots or subscriber metrics. It's in intimacy. Stories that make us cry in the quiet moments. Stories that ask hard questions no other show dares to touch. And with Ncuti's comment sparking fan debate, that pressure might force a pivot sooner than we think. Season 16 could be the test case: double down on blockbusters. Or dare to whisper again. So, Baragadublim crew, I need your voice here. If you could sit in the showrunner's chair tomorrow, what would you do? Scale down. And bring back those chilling bottle episodes like Heaven Sent. Or lean all the way into the Disney budget and give us Infinity War with Daleks. Drop Fem Whisper Who if you're team intimate, or fake spectacle Who if you're here for the big, loud cosmic madness. And while you're at it, tell me, do you want Ncuti back someday? Or should the Woniverse move forward with a clean slate? The best comments. You know I'll feature them in a future episode. Here's my final thought. Regret doesn't make Ncuti's run a failure. If anything, it proves something important. He cared. He didn't treat the Doctor like a paycheck. He treated it like art. And in an era where algorithms run everything, that might be the bravest thing of all. If you agree, smash that like button, subscribe for more deep dives, and stick around. Because next week, I'm tackling a monster topic. Billie Piper's regeneration twist. The truth nobody's telling you. And trust me, if you thought this video was wild, that one is pure chaos. I'm James Roxer. Stay curious, stay dangerous. And remember, sometimes the biggest explosions happen in silence.